And now for a view from the Senate to give us a sense of what's next for Democrats in their efforts to block a Senate confirmation of the president's choice for the court. I'm joined by Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. How do you see the legacy of Justice Ginsburg?
Well, thank you for having me, Judy. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was just a giant, not only in the field of law, where she paved the way for so many women who came after her to practice law, but in the cases that she chose to take on and the way she really stood for the proposition that if people are free to be themselves, it strengthens all of us. And I think for a lot of us, she was also a role model when it came to following a profession she loved, but also raising a family.
And so when you hear President Trump saying he's going to nominate a replacement, another nominee for the court by the end of the week, and the Senate intends to vote, Senate Majority Leader McConnell says there's going to be a vote soon. What's at stake here?
Well, it kind of takes your breath away, because when you think about 4 years ago when they made the decision to block any kind of hearings for a nominee from President Obama after Justice Scalia died, today they are reversing themselves. And what I think about a lot is what's at stake here. We are in the middle of a pandemic. And the Senate Republicans have been attempting for the last several years to repeal the Affordable Care Act, take away protections for people with pre-existing conditions. They haven't been able to do it legislatively. So now, instead of coming together with Democrats and crafting another COVID relief package to help people, they are rushing through a nominee to the Supreme Court, because there is a case before the Supreme Court right after the election that would in fact repeal the Affordable Care Act and take away pre-existing condition protections. So that is their priority now, and that's what's at stake, is to install a justice who will take away health care from millions of Americans.
Well, as I'm sure you know, one of the arguments they're making is that historically, when there has been a Supreme Court vacancy in the year of a presidential election, and you've had both the White House and the Senate majority of the same political party, that 29 times those nominations have gone forward. So they're saying there's historical precedent for what they're doing.
You know, they are coming up with all sorts of arguments to justify the reversal here. This election is already underway. People are voting already in early voting in lots of our states. And again, the real priorities of the American people here are for us to come together, pass a continuing resolution to continue to fund the government, and come together to do what we need to do to continue to address the pandemic. And it is deeply disturbing to me, as it is to my Democratic colleagues, and I hope it is to more of my Republican colleagues, that the emphasis here would be on rushing through this nominee. This would be a rushed process, even if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic. And to rush this through in contradiction of the same standards they set 4 years ago is really, as I said, breathtaking.
But Senators, I'm sure you also know there's inconsistency on the part of the Democrats' arguments. Democrats argued 4 years ago that there should be a vote, and I'm going to quote something that you said when you were running against your predecessor, Republican Senator Kelly Ayotte. This is we're going to lift something now from a debate that you had, and here's what you said.
The Constitution of the United States says that the president shall nominate a candidate to be a Supreme Court justice, and that the Senate shall advise and consent. It doesn't say except in election years. It doesn't say except when government is divided. It says that you need to do your job.
So again, that was from a debate when you were seeking to unseat, to defeat Kelly Ayotte, and you made the argument that there should be a vote in an election year, even no matter what the party difference was.
And then the Republicans changed the rules. I opposed what they did. They changed the rules. One of the things that we have to be able to do in this democracy of ours is hold both parties to the same set of rules. And I think it is critically important that the Republicans hold themselves to the same standards that they held themselves to 4 years ago. I think it's important for predictability in our democracy. But again, it comes down to, why are they doing this? Normally speaking, you would not rush a nominee through this quickly. You would not see the President of the United States making a nomination just a week or so after the death of a justice, and there would be serious consideration over the course of weeks and months of the nominees. So what I keep being struck by is, why the rush? And again, we come back to the fact that this is a Republican Senate that has been trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act for a long time, and they seem to be in a rush to make sure they can install somebody who is likely to vote in favor of doing that. The American people, I think, believe that it is reasonable, given these circumstances and given what the Republicans did 4 years ago, to let the next duly elected president make this nomination after he's inaugurated. And I hope very much that my Republican colleagues will examine their conscience and decide to join Democrats in insisting on that procedurally.
Yeah, I would just make the point that Democrats in 2016 and Republicans this year are saying the court needs all 9 justices, all seats to be filled. So we're hearing the same argument from different parties. Right now, though, it looks as if Republicans have the votes to get this through, doesn't it?
That's certainly one of the things we're hearing. We haven't heard from all of our Republican colleagues. We are urging them again to abide by the rules that they invented in 2016. And, I will also note that on the question of needing 9 justices in case there's a dispute about the elections, the court currently has a 5-3 majority of conservatives.
Meaning what? I mean, why? That's still 8 justices.
It's still 8 justices, but again, that didn't concern the Republicans when they changed the rules 4 years ago.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, we thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
And for the Republican view on the Supreme Court nomination fight, tomorrow I will talk to Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming.